will uncover the mystery.
From the Wonderland, Alice.
The party's just begun.
Cynthia may feel there are still some things she needs to take care of by herself. But right now, being home with you will do more good than any psychiatrist.
I'm thinking of taking her on a little trip back to the islands.
You go on back to your dancing if you like. I just love to watch young folk doing the new steps. You know the Charleston?
I'm going to be 12, and I'm going to have a birthday party.
Yeah. As the saying goes, when she's good, she's very, very good. But when she's bad...
She's got to be at least 50.
Jeff stabbed him. Fanny killed him. And Ma just sat there rocking and smiling. And they killed Lynn, too.
Did I scare you, Cynthia?
Put my baby down!
Ain't your baby, it's mine, and I'm going to give my baby a bath.
Put my baby down!
I renounce you, and I give my soul to Satan.
Hi, I'm Elaine Beauty from My Bloody Valentine and The Incubus, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues. This is episode 187, and it's one of Nathan's favourite numbers, apparently, which he'll tell us all about shortly. But we are covering American Gothic, aka Hide and Shriek, not to be confused with Hide and Go Shriek. And obviously with slash movie titles, quite often there can be some confusion. But this is the yuppies go to island and get killed movie. So this is Nathan's pick, and it might be a surprise. It's actually quite an accomplished film, Nathan. Are you looking forward to covering American Gothic?
Yes, I am. And did you guys hear how beautifully artistic that intro was with the music?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I'm not one, I don't often toot my own horn, but darn it, I'm going to toot and say that I really liked that intro.
You just toot your horn there, Nathan, and we'll just wait for you to finish.
Is that a joke? Did I say something funny?
Well, horn.
No, not yet.
But no, I love American Gothic. We'll get to that later, but I'm very excited to be discussing it. And the painting as well, if you guys want to get into the artwork.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Well, the
I was kidding.
Well, we need to touch on it, don't we?
Like, I don't have any notes on that.
No.
Yeah, I don't have any notes either. Let's not discuss that.
I thought it was going to be. I thought we could suddenly go very cultural. You know,
I was trying.
Yeah, you want cultural? How about this?
Oh dear.
That's more like this show.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll be coming on to Nathan's pick a little bit later. But Erik, how are you doing? Apart from, unfortunately, you've got your soundboard back.
Yeah, I certainly do.
It's y'all's turn.
And how are those relatives, Nathan?
You selfish relative.
Oh, they're still selfish. Yeah,
they are. That's why they had to die.
Especially Joyce and Deborah. They were the selfishness lists of all.
Are you still working on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but Erik, are you okay apart from that?
I'm super duper.
I'm glad to hear it. And Joseph, you're with us.
I'm actually here. Can you believe it?
You're not sleeping this time?
No, this is going to be a fantastic episode because Joseph is high as a kite.
Well, there you go.
But there is one.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, right. There is one thing.
Characters say about that.
Yeah, Rod Steiger. He would probably stagger away from me because I am the devil. There is one thing I wanted to mention. I meant to mention this on the last episode, but I wasn't here for most of the last episode. David Millay, BTK, who is responsible for inflicting Axum upon us, he has a new YouTube channel called Everybody Dies, and I told him I'd promote that on the show for him. It's basically him in front of a camera, and he covers kind of the worst of the direct-to-video post 2K bad movies. His first episode, he did the ABCs of Death. Quite hilarious. I'd recommend checking that out. So it's called Everybody Dies.
Excellent. Has he covered Bloody Murder yet?
No, I'm sure he will, because he loves that movie so much. But I think he's just going to cover movies that are just terrible. I don't know. Who knows? But it's a very entertaining show.
So when are you going to be guesting, Nathan?
Me? Am I guesting on there?
Well, it sounds very much your cup of tea.
Yes,
well, I mean, yes, I do think that BTK, he's got, or David Molay. Is that how you say it, Joseph?
Yeah, Molay.
Oh, okay. I think that he has an interesting taste in film. I don't necessarily share his love of Bloody Murder, but I do share his love of some other films that are very intelligent and nuanced.
Well, that's not two words I would have associated with most of your picks, Nathan, but...
Oh, yeah.
And there's just more great stuff to come.
Oh, yes. Well. Okay, well, let's have a little chat about what we've been watching.
My mind doesn't go into the gutter before I speak. So how does your brain live there?
Oh,
I am sweet and innocent. I have virginal ears.
Virginal ears.
Gutter trash rolls comfortably off my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Justin, what do you do when your cat is driving you crazy while you're trying to record, wanting attention?
Is that Stripes we hear, yeah?
Yes.
Well, they're all asleep at the moment, so then I don't have that problem.
They'll be using the litter tray any moment now.
No, but that's part of it's podcasting gold, isn't it, cats? So I think I very much doubt anyone's going to begrudge a little meow in the background.
She's very attention hungry today.
Yeah, but it's very sweet, very sweet. So, okay, well, what have we been watching the last week since we recorded? So, Erik, have you seen anything you'd like to tell us about?
No.
No?
No, it's only been a week.
Okay, all right. Well, no, because
That's true.
We are banking these up because we have a few scheduling conflicts, don't we, going forward into the next couple of months. So we're banking up shows. We got a wonderfully recorded professional podcast, as you would have heard if you'd listened to the last Jacko episode, which was we were just talking about this off air because we thought
Spielberg directed that.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg directed that. We were all very excited because after a few teething problems, our Psycho 2 episode, I think, was actually I thought actually turned out really well, and Joseph has been fine tuning the episodes as well to make them even sound even better. But there wasn't any magic in the world that could turn Jacko into, well, basically it was about 2 hours worth of Skype cutouts and all sorts of shenanigans. But hopefully
recording out of sequence, and it was very Doris Wishman.
It was very Doris Wishman. There was lots of feet shuffling around and stuff like that. But hopefully with American Gothic, we're going to be back on the straight and narrow, or well, as straight and narrow as we can be. Well, thank you, Erik, for your scintillating critique of your last week's viewing.
Excuse me for not having time to watch any movies.
Nathan, what have you been watching?
Justin has several in that case.
Oh my God, Erik! Oh, Erik.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's all you have to say. Okay.
Yeah. What about you, Nathan?
The only thing I really did is Joe and I had a movie night on Friday night, and we watched Boarding House, Where the Rent Won't Kill You, but Something Else Will, and Nail Gun Massacre, a very penetrating story. So, and we've already discussed both of those movies, so you both know that they are brilliant, fantastic, wonderful films that I hold near and dear to my heart.
You do indeed.
Yes. Did you have a lot of fun with them?
Yes, I did. And I think we inadvertently watched the uncut version of Boarding House, which features a lot more dialogue by the pool.
How long does that go on for? 2.5 hours or something, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 hours long.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. It was an incredible experience.
Is that your first movie night together in ages, or have you?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a few years, actually.
Yeah, it's been years since we had a movie night.
And was Grant there?
Yeah.
No. He's a family man now.
He's a family man now.
Yeah, he just doesn't have time for us anymore.
Oh, it's very sad. Very sad. So, okay, well, thank you, Nathan. And to say, if you are interested in our opinions on Nailgun Massacre, that we did the commentary for that, didn't we? For, is it 88 films?
Did.
And we did an episode.
Is Nailgun Massacre the one where we learned all about seagulling?
Yes.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Funny how we're not doing anything for 88 at the moment. I wonder why. But, well, thank you, Nathan. Joseph, how about you? Well, obviously you saw those as well.
Yeah, I accidentally stumbled across a YouTube channel called Local 58. It's basically this guy, he creates these like retro 80s looking TV channel news bumpers, but they're very creepy and very weird, and they kind of segue into these little short films. They're either like a minute or two long, or I think the longest one's like 4 minutes long, but very found footage style. The aliens are taking over, or there's some supernatural force taking over. Very weird, very effective, very creepy in that manner, and it kind of got me into wanting to kind of rediscover my found footage roots. So I watched a movie on Amazon Prime called I See You. It's basically about these two guys who are roommates. One of the guys buys a video camera, and he's basically documenting himself for his video blog. And his roommate will sometimes borrow the camera to just film pranks and practical jokes. And we're watching this footage, but spliced in this footage are like murders of people they interact with, and you don't see who the killer is. So it's kind of one of those who is the killer type movies. And you don't find out which one it is until the very end, or you may not even then. But I thought it was pretty good for a kind of return to the found footage thing that I haven't watched in a long time. But I don't know. After watching that Local 58 content, what this guy did with just text and images, how he made something creepy and scary like that. Somehow the movies just don't seem as interesting to me anymore. So, I mean, I enjoyed ICU for the most part. Just a standard found footage film I would recommend. But I do recommend going to check out that Local 58 on YouTube. It's very interesting. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else I've watched, unless it's the other movie you guys wanted to talk about. But that's it.
Well, we could talk, just mention, because I think it's streaming or it's out now everywhere, and I know Nathan hasn't seen it, but the rest of us have, which is Escape Room, which is, that was out at the cinema, wasn't it? Not that long ago, I kind of guess, but it's out on streaming everywhere now, and it's, how can I put it really? It's kind of like a PG-13 Saw, isn't it, in some ways, that a group of people seemingly unconnected get an invite to a new escape room, which obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, for the last 5 or 6 years or so, escape rooms have become the rigor thing for groups of like a kind of parties to go off and try and find their way out of a room following clues. So this is it's a similar thing to that, but they find that they're kind of caught up in some kind of Machiavellian plot, which will see them all being killed off one by one as they try and escape these very, very complex and rather overblown escape rooms. And I think when we're talking about this, obviously we want to give away too much because Nathan hasn't seen it, but if you thought Urban Legends 2 Final Cut was far-fetched, then you certainly that's scene at the beginning on the aircraft, and you've seen nothing yet. This is probably the most far-fetched movie I may have ever seen. Is that a fair assessment?
I think so.
Well, see, I was going to say Urban Legends 2. Yeah, that's kind of far-fetched, but if I were going to compare this to something, it would be like The Collector or the Saw films. You know, how just out there they are with the traps and the booby traps and stuff. This movie, oh my God, it is so outlandish and so unbelievable, but I likened it to like a PG-13 popcorn Saw, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it, actually. So thumbs up for me.
No, it's
I enjoyed the hell out of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a fan of the Saw series. I think they're a bit too grim for my liking. But this was, as you said, very popcorn and quite playful. It is very far-fetched to the point where I assumed it was meant to have a deliberate science fiction element like Cube. But maybe it isn't. Maybe it's meant to be taking place in the, quote, real world. If it is, then whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you do get kind of hints that, there might be some sort of technical, like engineering behind the scenes going on here, but it's just so outlandish. And you're like, oh, come on. Yeah, right. But it's a lot of fun.
A lot of
Nathan,
fun.
you need to get on to watching that as soon as possible.
There's a great.
I will, but this is one that Wes said he would watch with me. So
I think you'll enjoy it.
We're both going to watch it.
Yeah, this is something Wes would actually like, I think.
Cool. Is there anything else?
Not a lot of jump scares.
There is no jump scares at all, is there?
No, this is more of a kind of a, like Saw is like kind of an action horror sort of, where there's a lot of, death-defying feats, not necessarily people, jumping around corners and scaring people or anything like that.
Cool. Okay, is there anything else to say about Escape Room?
I enjoy it. Go see it.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, I think
there are multiple films out there called Escape Room, though.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
So just be sure to watch
it's a very popular activity in the States right now. So, a lot of these independent people capitalized on that before even this one came out, I think.
Cool. Okay. Right. Well, make sure you get the right one. So, okay. Well, there's a couple of things I've seen. I caught up on some Blu-rays that I had knocking around. I hadn't watched. One was called Hansel and Gretel from a South Korean movie. I used to, way back when, I kind of guess with like the whole kind of, with the J horror, obviously this is kind of K horror, but back what started with Ringu way back in before the millennium, I kind of guess. And so I did go through the kind of the early 2000s, quite a kind of an Asian kick of watching a lot of Asian horror movies, and you had the ubiquitous sort of ghostly demon with the long black hair type thing. And this is very sort of different. This is a South Korean based on the fairy tale Hansel and Gretel, but with a twist that it's actually potentially the kids that are the kind of the evildoers in it rather than the witch. And it has a man who is in a car crash and he ends up in this kind of strange realm where there's 3 children in the house with their parents, and their parents seem very nervous, and to say any more kind of would give away too much. But it's a very kind of playful and sort of fantastic in like as in sort of outlandish and inventive sort of movie. So that's definitely worth a watch if you ever get the chance, if you kind of like those slightly oddball Korean or South Korean movies. I have never seen a North Korean horror movie. I don't think there probably is such a thing, but that's have any of you seen it? Erik, I've thought might have seen it.
No, I wasn't aware of that one.
No, okay. The other two, very, very different. This was, it was on the fairy tale kick, as it were. And I said to Stuart, because Stuart's got this bit of a soft spot for anthologies, the old Amicus anthologies. And I said, I've got this one here. We haven't watched it. It's from the 80s. It's called Dead Time Stories.
Oh, my God. I love that movie. I love it.
So good.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it. It's 80s anthology, but kind of loosely based around fairy tales like one's Goldilocks, which is the final thing, which kind of becomes almost quite Tromer-esque. You've got Goldilocks who has psychic powers, is also escaped lunatic, and kind of gets together with the 3 bears, who are like a family of lunatics, psychopaths who escape from the asylum. It gets very John Waters-esque, and I thought if anyone had seen it, it would be Nathan.
Well, yeah, because it's so good. I love the Little Red Riding Hood story.
Yes, I did. Actually, on the Blu-ray, it's 88's release of it, and it's got the director on there, and he's sort of chatting about it and how they put everything together. And it was really interesting because it was I think it started shooting in 1982 and got released in 87. And he was it was very much kind of hand to mouth sort of when they made the film, and he's sort of saying about how the Little Red Riding Hood sequence, they had to reshoot the beginning of that because they wanted to sex it up a little bit more. But yeah, I thought it was very entertaining. It was kind of it's very different from the Amicus anthologies. Is that one that Joseph and
I think it goes good on a double bill with John Carpenter's Body Bags. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, long time ago. What about you, Erik? Have you seen it?
I haven't. No, I am aware of it, though. I didn't realize 88 had brought it out in Blu-ray, but no, I haven't seen it. But I am intrigued. It sounds quite good.
I think Shout Factory may have released it in the States, but 88 put it out on Blu-ray. Yeah. So, and one last film I saw, which is a film I think we had talked about possibly covering on the show. Our internet went down a couple of days ago, so we had to go and actually watch some physical media, which is... with everything on your fingertips these days, sometimes it can be a little bit, lazy about going upstairs and digging out a Blu-ray or a DVD. But watch Sorority Row, the remake of The House on Sorority Row, from about, I think it's 10 years old, 2009, which I saw at the cinema, and I've seen it a number of times on Blu-ray, and I don't know if it's just me, but it doesn't really stand up, I don't think, as well on now it's 10 years old. It doesn't. I'm not. I didn't like it as much as I remember liking it, but there might be a slightly.
Yeah, it's one of the lesser of those kind of post 2000 remakes that they had coming out.
It's certainly better than Prom Night.
It's better than Prom Night. I enjoyed the My Bloody Valentine remake a lot more, but I thought it was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw it in the cinema as well, and I just remember not being terribly impressed with it. So I don't think I've revisited it since.
What about you, Nathan?
I liked it a lot upon first watch, but now I fear a revisit because I feel like I might not like it as much the second time around.
I'm sure.
So I'm like, I want to maintain the good memories.
Well, it might be one we get round to eventually, and of course, because it had Carrie Fisher in it as well, which is kind of slightly strange watching her. Now she's dead. But so that's kind of all the things I've been watching. I think, trying to think if there's anything else. No, I think that's it. So, without further ado.
Before I get into this synopsis, I want to preface this with the fact that this synopsis is going to be the back of the VHS and there are spoilers. So please be aware of that before I read this. All right. A picture-perfect camping trip becomes a portrait in terror for 6 friends who are forced to land on a remote island when their plane develops engine trouble. They discover a family living on the island and are first greeted with apple pie and Bible reading, oh Lord, by Ma, Pa, and Fanny, who is expecting her 12th birthday, and Woody and Teddy, who like to play cowboys and Indians. The strange thing is that Fanny is 50 years old and the boys are not much younger. And while Ma and Pa like to thump their Bible, they seem to have disregarded the first commandment entirely. They use a variety of homegrown murderous methods to slay the visitors until there is only one, Cynthia, remaining. But Cynthia has a secret weapon, her past. She has just been released from a mental hospital and provides some macabre maneuvers of her own. American Gothic. The family that slays together stays together. All right. I love American Gothic. I think that all the characters are very interesting to watch. I find this idea of this psychotic family on an island to be really entertaining, especially the idea that they're very much adult children think that they're 12 and 13 or something. It's just ridiculous. But there's also this real weird macabre nature to the film, like the idea that Fanny is given like birth to this stillborn baby, or maybe even a baby that Pa killed for all we know. And she's got this mummified like baby that she treats like an alive kid. So it's very odd and weird, especially when she's like holding it out to Cynthia, like, here, give it a kiss. I'm like, oh, God. I found the character of Lynn to be really hilarious because she's kind of like the mean girl of the group. And there's this scene where Lynn says something really cruel. It's like, oh, this family and that Fanny with those hideous clothes and that bloated, ugly face. She's absolutely repulsive. I'm like, it's really mean and cruel. So, maybe she wasn't quite undeserving of her fate with the jump rope. But I also love how deep in the past the family is, because in the intro you heard the Ma saying, I love to watch you young folks doing the new steps. Do you know the Charleston?
Hey. I object to that because that's like me saying, hey, do you know how to break dance? Because I'm kind of stuck in the 80s.
I do like breakdancing. I like Charleston too. It's just, they don't even have a TV.
Do you
know? It's shocking. It's like,
I know. I'm like, God, I would die of boredom on this island before they had a chance to kill me. But no, I mean, fun movie. I love Rod Steiger. I love the scene where he's praying over the food, and he sounds like he's going into some crazy sermon of preaching. And then even when he gets to the end, he's like, "Amen." And then like they chastise Cynthia, who is obviously an adult woman, and the mom's like, "Don't you want to be part of the clean plate club?" It's all ridiculous to me. But like I said, it's ridiculous, but it's also kind of a weird macabre movie too. That's really interesting altogether. So, what do you think of American Gothic, Eric?
Yeah, this is my first time watching it in it must be about 30 years. All I could remember beforehand was that scene where, the wonderful scene where the guy's on the swing and he's pushed off the edge of the cliff. That was the only scene I could remember. But once I started watching it, everything came flooding back, and I knew sort of every beat of the film, which must indicate that I watched this like many times back in the day. I just didn't recall. It was released over here under the title Hide and Shriek and had some wonderful Graham Humphreys artwork on the UK VHS. I love the way it starts out with the traumatized, Cynthia is her name, isn't it? The lead character. She's been collected from the psychiatric home, and her husband is being told to keep her around people she feels comfortable with. Yeah, because that turned out really well in the end, didn't it? I like the fact that they've infused the dark humor right from the very start. And there's brilliant 80s music, completely out of keeping with the tone of the film, over the opening credits. It's like Dynasty or Falcon Crest or something, this music that plays as we're watching the...
That's exactly what I was going to say. My notes, yeah. Falcon Crest.
Yes. It's like, what? Isn't this a horror movie? But my favorite 80s thing in the film is Rob's hair. He has the spiked hair and mullet combo, which you will be... Well, you mightn't be surprised to learn, but you guys know what my hairstyle is now. I'm thinning on top, so I keep it very, very short. But back in 1987, I too had spiky hair and a mullet. I was quite the cool dude. So I felt a certain connection with that character, although he's the one that gets pushed off the cliff in the swing. So that never happened.
I have spiky hair now, but I don't have a mullet.
Well, you should grow the mullet. You'd look awesome. But mullets are coming back, I'm sure. They're due a comeback.
They're due a comeback.
There's a brilliant scene in it as well where, I mean, this makes me sound sadistic, but where the character slips on the rock and she falls into the sea. Now, it's very difficult to shoot scenes of people slipping and falling without it being utterly hilarious. And I mean, I blame programs like You've Been Framed, which I think you get in the States as America's Funniest Home Videos, because anytime I see somebody slip or fall in a movie, it just makes me want to giggle. So I think all that early
stuff makes me want to insert the sound effects like
and laughter. Yeah. I love that woodsy setting at the start, and it's very like before we meet the family who live in the house. All that stuff is very Friday the 13th and Just Before Dawn, and it also reminds me quite a lot of Body Count, the way they're sort of listening to their 80s rock music on their ghetto blaster. But I was quite wary of what was then to come around the corner, because I knew it was going to turn into one of those backwoods crazy family movies that sometimes are just not the type of film I go for. I'm a bit cagey about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but with American Gothic, I really enjoyed the second half of the film also. And like Nathan was saying, I think that the shipwrecked or plane-wrecked troupe of youngsters kind of bring it on themselves. I mean, they break into this family's house and they start playing the gramophone, and they mock the decor of the interiors, and then they raid their wardrobe and start dancing the Charleston. I mean, talk about taking liberties. I'd be fuming if I got home from work and, there were 6 people dancing around my living room in my check shirt and jeans and listening to my Toya albums.
Would you kill them?
Sorry?
Would you kill them?
I think I would. No,
the Toya albums would probably do that for him.
Hey!
I can't imagine many people breaking into your house and putting a Toya record on.
But you obviously don't know anything about the general public and their taste in music, Justin. But I mean, if their destructive oils had touched my sacred vinyl records, I would be very upset. I also like I think it's the bitchy girl you were saying, Nathan. What was her name again?
Lynn.
Is she the one who decides to light up at the dinner table and then she's...
Yes.
She's always out with a cigarette somewhere.
Yeah, and she looks disgusted when she's told not to smoke indoors. I mean, it's the 80s, I suppose, a different era, but I mean, that's very commonplace nowadays for people to, be shunned if they light up inside. I also like the fact that 2 of the children in this family are called Woody and Fanny, and that kind of sent my double entendre alarm bells ringing in my head, as I'm sure they did for you, Justin. Nathan, just to fill you in here, the word Fanny has a very different meaning over here than it does in the States.
Does it mean happy?
Fanny?
In a kind of way,
mean
yes.
happy. Yes, we'll tell you more about that later, I'm sure. But it's just interesting to us over here that what the sister is Fanny and the brother is Woody. They make an interesting combo. And sort of I like that sort of campy second half as well with the I suppose the childlike kids. And then it has that interesting sort of standalone final act where it comes to a natural conclusion maybe 20 minutes from the end, but then continues to go on with this extended epilogue where Cynthia, okay, I'm giving away spoilers here, but she's this survivor girl, and then she's driven demented, and she sort of willingly adopts herself into the family until the sight of the dead baby sort of tips her even further over the edge. So I love that bit as well. So it kind of has sort of 3 separate elements to it that I really like. And I'm surprised at how much vitriol was poured on it by the critics at the time, because I think it's well made. I mean, it's very much of its time, but I can't see what's particularly rubbish about it. I thought it was pretty decent. So thumbs up for me. And it was a welcome return. As I said, 30 years since I've seen it. And I don't know why it took me so long to see it again. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you. I'm excited when y'all like what I pick for the movie. And what I say is, like what you were talking about at the end with Cynthia, what I love about it is it's almost like a mini little slasher movie within this slasher movie.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end. What about you, Joseph? What do you think?
Yeah, I hadn't seen American Gothic since probably around the time you and I met, Nathan. So I was curious going into the film because I remember enjoying it quite a bit, but I knew it had sort of that familial element, all of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I enjoy in that movie, but it's kind of like Erik, it's kind of a plot device that I like less and less the older I get. I tend to prefer the single killers, their identities shrouded in mystery, or at least the kind of cheap Scooby-Doo mystery. But yeah, that was kind of my experience going in to watch American Gothic this time. I think the setup is great with the plane having to land on that island. It's very kind of humongous, with the shipwreck in that film. It's kind of the plane having to land on this island in this one. Once they happen upon the family, you get that initial WTF of discovering Fanny. But I feel like, once we meet, I knew Erik was going to do that. But I feel like once we meet her, I mean, that's it. I mean, Teddy and Woody, they don't really measure up to that sort of oddball shock, at discovering this 50-year-old woman who thinks she's 12. And so, so any time that we're spending with them, I'm not as interested, although I think it's well acted, but I'm not really interested. I think the shock of them having one child, who's in this mental state is kind of dampened with the fact that they have 3. It just kind of takes away the shock from the shock. But, that's kind of a small complaint. I did enjoy the swing moment in the film. I think that's very harrowing. And, like Erik said, these characters are just, they're likable, but they're so stupid. I mean, they bring a lot of this stuff onto themselves. This guy willingly gets into this swing overlooking a cliff with 2 people he doesn't know, 2 people who are about 45 to 50 years old and think they're 10-year-old kids. So, I mean, he kind of had that coming to him. I mean, it's like this all across the board. I find the setup is really interesting, but I don't find it to be all that fun because, once they get into that kind of, mental illness and the dead baby territory and the scene with Teddy engaging in necrophilia, I think my enthusiasm kind of wanes a little bit. It's no longer fun to me. It's just kind of, this is depressing. But, I still give this movie a thumbs up, but it's more of a one-time thumbs up. It's not a movie I can go back and watch over and over, I'm afraid, but still thumbs up. Very well made, very well acted. Rod Steiger, he chews the scenery here so well and shits Oscars left and right. I love the Fanny character. I love Cynthia. I love her descent into madness, even though it is kind of depressing. But, thumbs up. Not great, but, pretty good.
Okay. All right. Justin?
Well, it's like Erik. I hadn't seen this, I don't think, since the halcyon days of VHS when it came out, and I was like devouring every horror slash movie that was being released in the late 80s. So I don't recall having seen it, and I checked. I hadn't reviewed it for Hysteria Lives. I thought I had, but then I realised that was actually a very old review for Hide and Go Shriek. So I remember the VHS cover, Graham Humphreys, and I used to... I think I actually I bought a copy of that, and I don't think I ever watched it since I rented it back in the late 80s. So I was kind of looking forward to coming back to this, but then I kind of did wonder why I hadn't reviewed it and whether or not there was some lingering, I don't know, sort of doubt about the film. And I think it was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I enjoyed it. I like it, and I actually appreciate it for some of the reasons that Joseph is critical of it in so much. Though it does go off on these slightly strange tangents, and I can't think of many slasher movies that would deal, as a central kind of the linchpin to most of the undoing of the family, and also much of what happens is basically underpinned by a dead baby. So it's strange that they go there, and they've got the necrophilia and all of this child abuse and all this kind of thing wrapped up in it, which is very sort of fun 80s slasher, I kind of guess. But then all mixed up in this kind of bizarre, almost Baby Jane-esque. It can remind me of like whatever happened to Baby Jane, with that kind of, the Fanny is like a Betty Davis as Baby Jane. And so it was a mixed bag for me. I found actually Rod Steiger and Yvonne De Carlo a little bit stiff, and it kind of worked. And I was trying to work out. Woody
stiff?
Not during the film, no. But it was kind of, I found, I saw Yvonne De Carlo actually won Best Actress at some fantasy film festival around the time, and I wasn't quite sure. I wasn't. I need to rewatch it at some point, but tonally, I thought it was kind of a little bit sort of all over the place. I enjoyed it overall. Some of the takeaways that for me is we've already sort of mentioned. The whole thing of going to the house and sort of trying on clothes and all that kind of thing is bizarre behaviour, and it was strange that they made them kind of yuppies, which again in itself was kind of a little bit unusual. That these were slightly older people than you would expect for an 80s slasher. They were kind of similar, kind of not maybe but younger, but kind of it reminded me a little bit of the Slayer. That kind of, they weren't middle aged, but they were almost like some kind of successful yuppies. It did make me laugh when that woman fell into the water and she said she's going to go scuba diving, even though it seemed to be like mid-November and the water looked black as the Chambers of Denlan's heart, and I couldn't imagine she'd see much scuba diving. The other film reminded me of is one that I think Nathan we've covered on the kind of Patreon, was The Baby as well.
The Baby.
So you've got all of these kind of different things going on in it, and I agreed with with Erik as it's because I hadn't seen it for such a long time, and I was thinking it felt like the film could have ended 20 minutes before it did, and it had that kind of epilogue which was welcome. I think it kind of it gave the film in extra something, and I didn't think it was extraneous. I think it was good, but it felt like the film could have ended on the moment that Cynthia goes mad, when her brain finally cracks. But overall, it's kind of a black comedy. I mean, the director went on to make his next film was like Howling 4 or something, The Marsupials, or whichever one, The Howling or The Rebirth, or whichever one it was. The original Nightmare. Okay, and obviously we've covered. He did The Incubus, which was a much more straight ahead kind of horror movie, whereas this was. it's kind of played for laughs, but it's very kind of jet black, the humour throughout most of it, apart from the kind of the bitchy antics of some of the characters. So yeah, it's a mixed bag for me. I mean, I agree possibly, with Joseph as saying that Nathan, this is one of your more accomplished films that you've chosen, but for pure entertainment value, there's maybe some of the slightly more eccentric films that you've chosen. Although not saying this isn't eccentric, because obviously isn't a very eccentric film. It's a mixed bag for me. I'm not sure. I'm slightly on the fence with it, and I think there probably was a reason why I didn't come back to it after before now. Having said that, there's a lot to enjoy in it. So I'm glad that we did eventually go back to the island to revisit American Gothic. So are you?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Nathan, it's a typical kind of choice for you, isn't it? In some ways.
Yeah. And I understand what you guys are saying, because I do kind of prefer the crazy fat Ethel type picks myself, but this just happens to be one of the more well put together slasher films that I really enjoy. And I also did not expect any of you would pick it anytime soon. That's another reason I chose it.
Right.
I'd completely forgotten about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where the box art is very striking, and you remember that from like the halcyon days of VHS stores. But it's not one that's ever just really stood out in memory. I always seem to forget about it.
I will say I do love that scene where Fanny is like looking in on Jeff and Cynthia, and Teddy's kind of cowering in the corner, and he basically is saying, leave me alone or I'll get beat bloody like I did last time, which basically means that she's been sleeping with her brothers. And just like the way she talks and the look on her voice, like that whole childlikeness is gone completely. Yeah, she's very adult in that scene.
There's I think she's the best actor in the film. There's a scene where she's talking to I believe it's Teddy. He's sitting on the floor, and she's like, they're discussing something, and she just pauses and kind of looks at the camera. She's like, I want Jeff. And
that's the scene I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. She's so good. She's so creepy. It's like, man, she just really steals this, movie from everyone else, even Rod Steiger.
And I was kind of shocked at Jeff's death, because it just, the way it happens, she just walks into the room after Jeff and Cynthia have had this big, heartfelt discussion, and just starts pawing at him and is like, I want him. And then just stabs him right through the eye. It just, if I was Cynthia, it'd just be like that come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like she's like, I want him, and then she's like, I'm like, what do you want from him? Do you want to have sex with him, or do you want to stab him? I mean, you go in there thinking, okay, she's about to, jump this guy right in front of this other woman, and then bam, right in the eye with some kind of needle-looking thing. Ugh, made me
some
cringe.
weird statue.
Yeah,
she has an air of Mrs. Voorhees about her as well, I think.
Yeah.
I did think it was a little
Justin,
bit...
I was going to say, is she your favourite character in the film? Or, to put it another way, do you like Fanny?
Well, I have a fear of Fanny, which was... Did you ever see the Fanny Craddock? Because Fanny Craddock, for our American listeners, was a chef from our TV chef from the 1960s. It was very scary. Looked like Tammy Faye Baker, but she was played by Julia Davis, who did 90 Night and all those kind of fantastic black comedies here. So, and that was called Fear of Fanny. But as we alluded to earlier, Fanny means something different.
I was going to say, I like Fanny Annie. Has anyone ever heard of her?
No.
She's Nathan, I'm shocked you haven't heard of her, because she was on a lot of those USA Up All Night kind of the silly car wash movies, or the summer rental, summer job movies, kind of the meatballs type movies on USA Up All Night. Google her. She's very crazy fat Ethel in nature.
And just be careful Googling Fanny.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to eat Fanny, and you can take that both ways.
Okay.
I can't think of one way you can take that.
But one thing I did think was particularly stupid, well, not stupid, but kind of gloriously a bit stupid, was when they heard the radio and they go and find that shack with that random man collapsed over a radio. What was he doing there? Why was there this other random shack with somebody sat there with a radio? Didn't really make a huge amount of sense, did it?
One thing about this movie is one thing I like about this movie is it's, at least for me and maybe Nathan, there is a little bit of realism in this film, at least not really anymore around here, but a couple of decades ago, you would probably have a better chance of running into people like this family in the South. When I was a kid, I grew up next door to a family that were very, very similar to this family. They didn't go around killing people, but they were the type, if you came into their house, you had to, bow down to the Bible. It's just very, very creepy.
So, well, Nathan, as it's your pick, do you want to regale us all the background you've got?
Yes, I do. Okay. All right. So the poster art and all related media were based on the famous painting by Grant Wood. The painting's also called American Gothic. The film was shot in the winter of 1986 to 1987 on Bowen Island near Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. American Gothic was released on VHS and Betamax by Vidmark Entertainment on September 7th, 1988. It was released for the first time on DVD by Trinity Home Entertainment on September 28th, 2004. It was re-released by Stax Entertainment in the United Kingdom. You might know about that, Justin. On March 27th, 2006 in a truncated cut running 85 minutes. Wonder what they cut out. E1 Entertainment put the film on DVD in Canada on October 14, 2008. Shout Factory released the film for the first time on Blu-ray on December 19, 2017. This marked the first time it was available in widescreen on home video. And there you have it. So what background do you have, Justin?
Well, thank you, Mr. Wikipedia. Let's have a look.
What? Are you trying to say that I used Wikipedia?
Well, I don't know. Did you?
I think he is saying that, Nathan. Mm-hmm. It's rhubarb.
Well, don't go look. Just assume that I'm not.
Okay. Yes. Well, I've got a few bits and pieces here. The film was actually released in the UK before it was released in the States. I think it came out on video here in 1987 or 88, but it came out about a year before it was released in the States. It did actually say that there was a UK cinema release, according to IMDb. So I'm not sure if it did, but it was produced by Brent Walker Productions. Now, Brent Walker were a British company that had made films, the Joan Collins exploitation classics, The Stud and the Bitch, and also Quadrophenia. So there's a Toya link there.
Toya.
So Brent Walker were kind of put out quite a few films on the early days of video as well. Obviously, the director made The Incubus, we talked about, and also mentioned did The Howling 4, the original Nightmare, in 1988. I was looking up the copyright information on this, and there was a screenplay written by Don Coscarelli, who was famous for the Phantasm films, called American Gothic in 1987, and it just says based on the motion picture and screenplay entitled Phantasm. So I'm wondering if he was either going to make a kind of related film to Phantasm called American Gothic, or this is what Phantasm 2 became, perhaps. Also mentioned that Yvonne De Carlo won Best Actress at something called Fanta Festival, which isn't presumably a festival about orange-tasting soda pop. So, interestingly, actually, some of the people who were in this went on to be in some very, very big movies. In fact, some of the biggest movies of all time. Cynthia, Sarah Torgov, was actually in Meatballs, which I think you mentioned earlier, didn't you, Joseph? A funny kind of moment of synchronicity. But Caroline Barkley, who was Terry, she went on to be in Species and also in Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, neither of which were the biggest movies of all time. But Rob, who was played by Mark Lindsay Chapman, played one of the chief officer in Titanic in 1997. Who else was Stephen Shelton, who played Paul? He was in The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston, and he was also in Stepfather. And who's the other guy? William Hootkins plays Teddy. He was actually in Star Wars, the original Star Wars, in 1977. So, yeah, interestingly, some of these people have been in the biggest movies of all time. Michael J. Pollard, of course, was in the classics, Bonnie and Clyde in 1967, and the other classic, Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland, as Herman.
He was also in Tango and Cash with Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone.
Well, there you go. There's no end to things I've done.
It's a classic.
Yvonne De Carlo.
I wonder if Tango and Cash won anything at Fanta Fest.
Yes, I do.
They probably won something, all right.
Because Tango and Fanta are both soft drinks.
Yes. Thank
They're
you.
both orange soft drinks.
Indeed. Well, there you go.
That was my joke of the week.
Thank you. The Ma and Pa in this, Rod Steiger was obviously in lots of classic movies, like in The Heat of the Night, but he was also in The Kindred in 1987, which I think was made by the people who did Behind the Dawn That Drip Blood.
He's also in, sorry to interrupt you, he's also in A Fistful of Dynamite, where he has a beard, and it makes you want to do this.
Oh dear, okay.
Sorry, I was just going to add one thing. Rod Steiger was also in a movie from 1994 called The Specialist with Sylvester Stallone. If you want to see someone choose some scenery, watch Rod Steiger in that film. Oh my God, he puts on like this really bad kind of mafioso old world Italian accent. It is just hysterical.
Is that the one where Sylvester Stallone shags Sharon Stone in the shower?
Yes, it's so bad. And James Woods, I hate James Woods personally, but he's so good in this movie. He's so over the top. But yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, right. Well, thank you. Yvonne De Carlo, obviously, apart from her famous turn in the 60s TV, she was in quite a few horror movies at the time. She was in Cellar Dweller and Mirror Mirror. She was also in the kind of post-Halloween success Silent Scream with Rebecca Balding, and one of my favourite trash opuses, Satan's Cheerleaders, which is an amazing movie, and also the Intruder from 1975, which was the recently discovered proto-slasher, which I've not seen yet, but I think it was going to get a release coming out at some point. And lastly, I was just going to mention Janet Wright, who played Fanny. She's actually a British actress who was brought up in Canada, and she had quite a tragic life, and she's passed away now. She was in The Perfect Storm back in 2000, but I think her daughter was shot dead, and her parents and her sister all died in a house fire. So, particularly sort of tragic life for her, but and unfortunately she's no longer with us. So, on that downer...
I've got more background. I know. You remember when you said that Yvonne De Carlo won Best Actress at Fanta Festival?
Yeah.
Okay. Here are the other winners that same year. The best film was won by Mannequin.
What?
Best director was the director of Mannequin. Best actor was Andrew McCarthy from Mannequin. Best actress was Yvonne De Carlo from American Gothic. Best special effects was for Dolls. And best first work is La Casa del Buen Retorno, directed by Beppe Sino.
What?
Well, I didn't want to just leave that one off, but mainly I wanted y'all to know that it stands alongside Dolls and Mannequin as the winners at Fanta Festival.
Well, Mannequin was the big winner. It swept the boards that
Yeah,
Wow.
it did. It got like 3 awards.
Switcher!
I wonder if Starship won Best Film, or Best Song from a film.
It won an Oscar.
Did it?
Yeah, it won the Oscar for that. So Mannequin is an Oscar winner.
Wow.
There you go.
Or at least was nominated. It may have won though. I think but it's either nominated or a winner, but still, Mannequin was nominated for an Oscar.
Well, there you go. So, who hasn't gone?
I have
Joseph
just
and-
2 bits to add to that, I think. One, you were mentioning that it possibly got a cinema release. It was certainly the BBFC classified it for cinema release in August of 1987, and then it was issued, it was certainly certified for release on VHS in November of 1987 with 58 seconds of cuts, as Nathan was saying. The only other thing I have is that the location they filmed on is called Bowen Island in British Columbia in Canada, which is the same location they used for the wonderful and amazing award-winning remakes of The Fog and The Wicker Man.
Not the bees.
Not the bees. I've never seen The Fog remake. Is it worth watching? Is it dreadful?
No. I mean, I've seen plenty of films worse, but it's a bit dull. Is its problem?
It's apple pie bland.
Yeah, it's very like films like The Nun, where you say it's just special effects, and there's nothing else to it. So that's what the Fog is, as far as I remember.
Right. Okay. Is it more exciting than the Prom Night remake?
Well, yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the Prom Night remake yet.
You've not?
I still want to see that.
What? Did we cover it when we were doing? Did we not discuss it when we were doing the prom night episode, no?
Well, I've never seen the whole thing. Do you remember? I think when I started watching it and the DVD or Blu-ray we were renting started sticking, and we thought it took us a sign from God.
That happened to me with what was that film you were mentioning earlier about David Molay?
Bloody Murder or Axel?
Bloody Murder. Yes, Bloody Murder. I bought on DVD for €1, and
you bought that?
Yeah, the DVD didn't work when it arrived. Yes,
Joseph, did you? I can't remember. Have you been?
What? No. I actually had a lot of background, but you guys read it all.
Oh, yeah.
This is me doing my best Mark Wahlberg impression.
So Mark Wahlberg. Marky Mark.
Yes. Lie still or I'll punch you in the goddamn face.
So, well, if that's all the background, maybe should we do an after the credits?
We should do an after the credits.
Don't press stop. After credit show.
All right. At the end of this film, Cynthia is rocking the thing the baby's in. Cottage? No.
Cradle.
No, it's not cottage.
Cradle.
Yes, cradle. Okay, so she's rocking the cradle. So what I'm thinking is that afterwards she goes and hangs up all the bodies because, they're the new dolls. And then the craziness that goes down is that another group of people crash land there and Cynthia starts killing them off too because she's crazy by now. And that's what I think. She becomes the crazy mountain lady.
What, in the pink party dress?
Yes, in the pink party dress and the ribbon in her hair. So that's what I'm thinking. What do you think, Justin?
God, I haven't even... I'm trying to think. Maybe... I think it maybe the sequel would be something like Supernatural, and she superglues the head back on the baby, and then the baby becomes like a little Chucky, and then people come to the island looking for the people that have been a bit like in Hatchet when they go looking for the survivors in the sequel, I think it is, and then you've got like the kind of withered baby is like a Chucky Zuni doll from
that sounds like Voodoo Massacre.
Yeah, exactly. And then she dresses up like Karen Black, and then they do this kind of they chase them around the island to the Benny Hill music.
I would watch that.
Well, I'm copywriting it now.
Oh, so you're going to make it?
Well, why not?
Mm-hmm. Well, Joseph?
Well, Cynthia's all alone. I think eventually someone else, like a guy, wanders around and they have a new Fanny, but it's a boy. They raise it as a girl, and its name is Erik.
Hey! I do not approve. I would not watch that film. I would object to it.
Erik, what do you think happened after the credits rolled?
Well, I think Daniela has something she'd like to say to you all.
Go fuck yourself!
Thank you, Daniela. Okay, well, I think what happens is that Cynthia's madness is not caused by her ordeal at the hands of the family. Her madness is caused by something we just mentioned earlier in the podcast, is that there's no TV on the island. So she's gone without television for about 48 hours and she's gone insane. But she goes wandering the island later and she goes back to that cabin, in the other cabin in the woods, and she discovers a TV there and she switches it on, and Family Feud is on, or Family Fortunes as we know it, and she really enjoys it and she gets her sanity back and she escapes back to civilization. The end.
Okay. All right. So TV saved her.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting after the credits for Erik. I hope his joke of a week is as good as that one.
Me too.
It's my joke of the week. It's so fantastic.
What do you call a US-based yokel who likes tombstones and cobwebs?
Fanny.
No, an American goth hick.
That's all I'm just going to give you that, because I quite thought that was quite clever, Erik. You made up for your after
very
the
good,
credits.
Erik. I like that one too.
Yeah, because I totally thought you were going for the fanny flap kind of thing.
Pardon?
I very rarely go for the fanny flap.
No, it would be the first time for anything, Erik, wouldn't it?
No, I was trying to. Never mind.
Oh my god!
The fanny joke is what I thought you were going for.
Yeah,
but where do the flaps come into it?
Flaps. Oh, Nathan! I was trying I was trying to reverse engineer a joke that where the punchline would be Rod's tiger, but I couldn't think of
I'm glad you stuck with your original joke.
Justin, just one thing. You were mentioning earlier about they go into the cabin and they found some random dead guy hunched over in the cabin. But I think that's the body of Rob, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The scene has just passed by on the TV behind me.
Ah, okay. So
you ever wonder
I don't
in
think it's some
movies like
random other
this?
person on the island.
Okay.
Like, I always just think in movies like this, like the killer has to have, a lot of strength and time because they move these bodies around all the time, Well, like you think about Friday the 13th, Jason moves all these bodies around to pose them.
And he throws them through windows a lot.
Yeah, he does.
But he's super strong, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got a nice arse in Friday the 13th Part 8.
Oh, does he? Is that one of the redeeming features of Part 8 for you?
I just thought I'd mention that.
Well,
Eric.
Yeah.
Teddy.
Yes.
What
photo you sent, yes, but in American Gothic, no.
Okay. Did anyone think he kind of looked like one of the twins from Just Before Dawn?
Yeah, he has that kind of vibe about him.
Yeah.
But he didn't die by getting a fist down the throat.
I don't even know why I'm giggling.
No, why are you giggling, Erik? So anyway, well,
did y'all know that that's a big climactic scene in Just Before Dawn?
I did, yeah. Well, I have the film. I have American Gothic on in the background, and when it's on silent, Fanny is a dead ringer for Mrs. Voorhees. I'm sorry.
What scene are you on right now?
I've just rewound again to that scene where they find that guy in the cabin, and it is the dead body of Rob.
Oh, could you tell by the hair?
Yeah, and the scar on his head from when he fell off the cliff. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was tragic business.
Well, shall we go on to some of the feedback from the forums and Facebook? Joseph, do you have that to hand?
I do.
Oh, okay.
This is from the Facebook group. Shane Miller says, great movie, and the twist at the end is fun. Chris Moore says, it's so good, one of the few movies that lives up to its awesome cover art. Tim S. Turner says, is there anything quite as entertaining as Rod Steiger at full ham bone? Tom Sullivan says, love this one. I have a VHS of this, and it is still one of my favorites among the 80s slashers. Yvonne DiCarlo and Rod Steiger made a great ma and pa, and Michael J. Pollard is always fun to watch, and his role as Woody was enjoyable, and I really loved Fanny. She reminded me of Kathy Bates in Misery and all of her psychotic brilliance from playing kids' games with the stranded group of friends to showing Cynthia her baby. It is one of those films that was lost in the shadows and not given the credit it is due. Yvette Kelleher says, it's a lot of fun to see Oscar winners Steiger and Pollard hamming it up in this. Nick Yeoman says, it's been on my watch list for a while now. This seems like the perfect opportunity to finally watch it. Not disappointed. Jenny Hall Cameron says, yay! I'm so happy. Been waiting for you guys to do this one. It's one of my favorites. You wouldn't think with it being one of my favorites, I would have so much more to say, but I don't. Although not attractive, I thought the final girl was good. Although she angered Rod Steiger by killing Fanny. Always thought that was weird. Everybody is dead, but you're sad about Fanny. She'll haunt your dreams, that Fanny. Michael J. Pollard looks high and happy the whole time. He stumbled from one set onto this one. Can't wait to hear this podcast and love the cover art for this movie. Let's see. Whoa, this one's a long one. Billy Vadrine says, I love a slumming Rod Steiger in anything. The film itself has a mean streak running through it and isn't afraid to go to some pretty sick places throughout. It's questionably a slasher for me in the same way Texas Chainsaw Massacre or any of Rob Zombie's Firefly family movies are. More about a group effort or family project to eliminate as many of the unfortunate people who stumble into their territory as possible. I always think of slashers proper being solo operators or at the most two, like, spoilers I guess, in Tower of Evil, Hell Night, or the Scream movies, to name a few. But these backwoods family peril movies feel like a different kettle of fish to me. Not that I'm discouraging you from covering American Gothic on the podcast. I haven't seen it since renting it on VHS in the 1990s, but I recall being a bit surprised at how disturbing I found the whole thing. Also, I absolutely love the box art on the tape with Ma and Pa front and center in a parody of the titular Grant Wood painting and the screaming faces of soon-to-be victims in the upstairs windows of the house. That image is sort of more fun than anything in the movie, honestly, what with the dead babies and all. But hey, it's been decades. Maybe you guys thought it was hilarious and all in good fun. Wes Ray says,
This is one of those movies that has somehow fallen through the cracks, and unfortunately, I have yet to watch it. However, I've always been fond of the home video cover artwork. Toya and Susie have never looked better than they did when they had that knife and pitchfork in their hands. Troy Escamilla says, I really enjoyed this one. One of the quirkier slashers from the 80s with a very few memorable, effective scenes. The swing. The performances are appropriately hammy, with Janet Wright stealing the show as Fanny. I mean, who can forget her final scenes with her baby, in quotation marks. Mike Paul Sanders says, disappointing, though the family dynamics were entertaining. Tom Virtuoso says, I guess technically it's not a great film, 2-star average, but there's a lot to be said about the lingering atmosphere and awkward characters. The swing scene is forever memorable, and the Amy Steele lookalike kill is disturbing. Also, the box art was a huge standout at the rental store. J.W. Durbin says, the family that slays together stays together. Fun flick. Love all the veteran actors. Lily Munster and Michael J. Pollard, etc. I remember the day I first spotted this one at the video store. Thought it might be a train wreck with that vintage cover art, but was surprised. It was a great and memorable late 80s horror gem. Ben Raphael Scher says, it's scary. Watch out for Yvonne's knitting needles. Greg Wojcik says, such a fun, underrated movie. I was happy it got a Blu-ray release. Justin Savoya says, love it. Derek Bourgeois, I don't know your last name. The epic swing scene. Once you've seen this movie, you will not forget it. Plus, awesome performances by Rod Steiger and Yvonne DiCarlo. I dig this one from one of my favorite directors, Jean Ho, who directed Incubus, Legend of Hell House, and Twins of Evil. It is the same director of the Incubus, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, cool. Logan Abbey says, yes, finally. Christian Koch says, loved it. Great macabre film. Mitch King says, I've always enjoyed this one. Great hammy performances from the parents, and Fanny is creepy as hell. Don Nye says, meh. And Donnie Ibarra says, skull emoji, metal horns emoji. So I guess he enjoys it. Okay, over on the forums, Mr. Palmer says, I dig this one. Rafe Jha says, I like the subgenre in which ordinary people made a community that seems to live in another era. It establishes a disturbing setting without the need to rely on graphic violence. I also tend to prefer horror films with comedic elements. The behavioral opposition between the two groups is funny at first, which makes the progressive discovery of the creepiest secrets of the family even more effective. It makes me think of the post-psycho thrillers from the 60s mixed with slasher tropes from the 80s. It may have been more successful had it been released a few years earlier. This movie is not revolutionary, but contains effective, shocking moments and solid acting, especially from the old couple. On Instagram, Liquid Sky 74 says, I've loved it since it came out in the late 80s. Heart Fanny. Shameful Clutter 2. I guess he's better than Shameful Clutter 1. He hasn't seen it in forever, but I think he digs it. Truth be told, he was solely watching it for #Fiona Hutchinson. Vestron Movie says, I love it. Quite surreal to see adult actors parade around as if they were still children. Eugene Weaver 9 says, I haven't seen this one since the VHS days, but recall quite liking it at the time. It's kind of a comedy as well as a horror movie, right? Yeah, I would say so. Another one to rewatch list. P.S. Any of you watched the shot-on-video slasher from 1984 called Sledgehammer? It's hilarious, and I would love to hear you guys chat about that one.
Now, that's a Nathan movie.
Yeah, that's a Nathan movie, Eugene.
So good.
Eugene, the next time you comment on one of our movies, shut your goddamn mouth about Sledgehammer. We don't want to give Nathan any ideas.
No. It's already happened. You're welcome, Eugene. It will be put into my list of choices.
Eugene, I am banning you from the goddamn Instagram feed. Eugene.
Hey, Sledgehammer's awesome. It's the only movie I've ever seen where a guy flirtatiously balances a beer can on his girlfriend's head.
I get mixed up. Is Sledgehammer, is it the one that has all of the slow motion, or is that Spine?
Yeah. Well, they both do, but Sledgehammer has a lot of slow motion.
Oh, God. Okay. Moving on. Still over on Instagram, Ivyboy89 says, top 5 super original to the genre. Fantastic cast, super underrated. On Twitter, Brennan Klein says, a total undiscovered gem. It combines the fun of themed kills with the freaky uncanniness of age-defying children who look like Imelda Staunton. And that's all the feedback I have.
Well, thank you for everyone who has written in. Well, here is how to get in contact with the show and also a message from friends of the show. So we'll be back after this.
Devil Times 5 is the fast-paced podcast in which 3 comedians and 2 horror experts dissect a different theme, franchise or subgenre each month before playing around with horror's hardest quiz. Scary noises. So, for hot takes and piss takes, listen to Devil Times 5, the British horror podcast that knows how to have fun.
All I know is today's October the 31st. 31 backwards is 13. It's Friday, it's Halloween. It's the 13th anniversary of the lawnmower killings. It's a crazy loose. It's prom night.
Hi, this is Tracy Savage, Debbie from Friday the 13th, Part 3. For the best podcast ever on old slasher movies, be sure you find Hysteria Continues. You will be glad you did. And hey, stay out of Crystal Lake, okay?
Every episode, we celebrate a classic slasher movie such as Friday the 13th, Halloween, My Bloody Valentine, Happy Birthday to Me, and Crazy Fat Ethel 2. The Hysteria continues, bringing slash with panache since 2011. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and all good podcatchers. And welcome back. And Eric's got a small one.
Hey! Well, you like Fanny. You've already admitted you like Fanny, Justin.
You set that one up behind the scenes, Eric, because you said, I've got a small bit of feedback here to read.
Yeah, I know. I knew
you lobbed it right at Justin's way.
Justin was going to use it against me. I knew it as soon as I said it. I was being bullied all the time.
Get over yourself. Come on.
I find it difficult sometimes. Do you feel bad now, Justin?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
It's almost as dramatic as that one where he was going to he's going to run and jump out the window.
Yeah, none of you tried to stop me.
But that's because you were on the ground floor.
No, I'm on the 4th floor. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting back to my feedback. This is from Max. He says, hey guys, my name is Max and I've been listening to you guys for about 2 years now. First time writing in. Just want to say I enjoy the show more than life itself. And I love the stuff you're putting up on YouTube. I plan to support you on Patreon starting next month. And that's from Max. Thank you, Max. And
Thank you, Max.
What's been going up on YouTube recently, Joseph? It's we have some trailers and...
There's trailers, episodes. There's some Patreon freebies. We cut that promo that's on there.
Cool.
You know, during movie night when we were watching Boarding House and Nail Gun, I was like, you know what, we should film this.
Yes. And you know what?
We were dying laughing the whole time. It was just
This is true. Well, and if we get 1,000 Patreonians, then we'll all do a commentary on Old Federal Massacre Part 2. It'll take much time to prepare.
Join us on Patreon so we can fly to some tropical island and record a video cast or something.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be like the island on I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Or the one in American Gothic.
Gothic, yeah.
Not those.
How about the one on Island of Blood? We can go to one of those old schools and Justin can be bored to death while I'm like, swimmingly happy.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like the one in the Slayer either because it looks really cold and windy there.
Oh, it's Tybee Island. It's beautiful there as long as you don't have to deal with the Slayer.
Yeah, true.
Well, I'm looking forward because I can imagine going there and seeing Erik in a pink party dress.
See, Justin already lives on an island. We'll just visit Justin.
That's true.
He lives on an island. Yeah.
Yeah, but if I was wearing a pink party dress, it'd be one I'd have to steal from your house.
It wouldn't fit you.
Technically, it'd be yours.
Erik, did you have a really big 12th birthday party?
I think of my big 12th. Yeah.
I feel like Erik is the type who would like go to someone else's 12th birthday party and like he'd try to open all their presents or eat their cake before they had a chance to do it.
As if I would.
I'm sorry, I'm just so high.
Oh my God. Well, let's bring this to a dignified close. Is there anything else we want to discuss before we let slip what I have in store for you next time?
Oh, you've got something in store for us?
Yes. Well, I thought, we haven't done any giallo or gialli for a while, and we used to have fun doing gialli double bills. So I thought, in the spirit of bringing it back, we should move on from the 70s to some 80s gialli and a Lamberto Bava double bill of...
Oh my God.
Delirium, the one about the models being murdered, the ones with giant insect heads, and You Will Die at Midnight, where the final girl beats off the killer with a whisk.
Oh, I love that movie.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yes.
Ooh, and I like Delirium.
The egg whisk final twist, because I've never seen You'll Die at Midnight.
Oh well, it's not really. It doesn't give much away, but I think you'll enjoy it. But if you search for You'll Die at Midnight, quite often you'll see the still of the woman. She's holding a whisk against the killer. So
terrifying.
But it's absolutely terrifying.
Delirium.
It sounds like one of
photos of a girl named Goya.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Goya.
So I thought that'd be a fun one to
dialogue in that as well.
Yes, that'll be a fun one.
This is going to be a good episode.
Yes, so we'll join us next time. And what are we playing out with, Nathan?
Oh, it's the incidental music for American Gothic, because
That's all, folks.
Because I thought it was a very somber movie, and we were very respectful in this episode. We kept it very somber, I would say.
Apart from when we were talking about Fanny.
Every other
very
word.
Music somber.
Let me tell you, I'm very somber over here. Let me tell you.
You know what's going to happen, though, Nathan? Nathan, you don't realize what's going to happen here. Justin is going to completely ignore the fact that you've chosen this piece of music, and he's going to put in Susie and the Banshees because they're Gothic.
Eric, I know I've bullied
Eric, you gave him that idea.
Yes, Erik, I blame you now.
Eric, I know I've bullied you a little bit on this episode, but I feel like you've totally earned it, because every time I've done you haven't said anything, and I know you love it.
I do love I haven't noticed you saying that. Sorry.
Oh,
I did like you when you go, what? No.
Now I take back all my bullying, and I'll direct it somehow at Justin or someone.
Well, let's.
My final words on the subject are. There we go.
Well, none of them really wanted the demons to get them.
This is true. I'd be very surprised if somebody ran up and says, "You know what? I'm kind of looking forward to the demons getting me." Anyway,
I love demons.
And on that bombshell.
This is still part of the show. Oh my God!
Yeah, the show's still on.
It's still going. I'm trying to wrap the bloody thing up.
Listeners.
Well, I'm the editor now, so it doesn't have to be.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to the Hysteria Continues, and thankfully, I think this is slightly smoother than the shit pickle episode of Jacko.
Yes,
but and a big thank you to all our Patreon supporters. We've got lots of exciting things coming up for next month. I think we have Demonoid, we're back to horror roots, and we've top 3, was it hairstyles?
Is it?
That was a joke.
Was it a joke? No, what was it?
I was kidding.
I'm honestly running out of ideas for top 3.
Top 3 hairstyles.
If you guys have any ideas, that's great, because I'm running out of ideas for top 3.
I love it.
Well, I think
we might as well go with top 3 selfish relatives, as you suggested, Joseph. Then.
Oh yeah,
that was a joke, Eric.
Yeah, well, there's only 2 selfish relatives anyway, just Joyce and Deborah, and there's nobody else.
Yeah.
Well, we top 3 something or other engaging. Yeah. I think Meep didn't they do on the on his podcast? They did top hairstyles.
He did, actually, yeah.
Yes. So sorry,
I just don't know if I would be as flamboyant about hair as Meep is.
Yeah,
yes.
See, I don't know that you pay that much attention to hairstyles in movies, except for the girl with the big hair in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. Yeah.
How about top 3s? Like, what's our favorite top 3s that we've done?
Well, we'll discuss this off air, shall we?
Fun.
Discuss this off air. So, okay, well, say goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Take a load off Fanny.
Butthole?
Vanjie.
I like vagine.
Justin's blinking. Seems like Justin's like everything's in one little corner of this house. Like, I'm recording in a corner next to the cat box. Stuart's about to get in the shower with me, and I got the oven going at 600 degrees.
Well, that's what it is. We're in a tiny little place.
In a box.
It is a box. It's open plan. There's only 3-4 rooms in the whole place. But Joseph, are you just because I'm still recording? So can you cut in the bit at the end with Nathan saying he likes Virgin?